PM has added to the pressure on the former head of the Post Office, saying he would also support a probe into Paula Vennells and her CBE.
Rishi Sunak also vowed to do everything he can to make it right, adding that he wants compensation payments to be out of the door as quickly as possible. Well, talkTV has been speaking to people in Paula Vennells' town in Bedfordshire.
It was a disgrace. For people to take their own lives and everything is absolute thing. She should be bowing her head in shame. She needs to be stripped.
It's the big people getting away with individuals not believing what they say. Not good at all.
It's
a disgrace.
Disgrace, absolute disgrace. I'm glad the Prime Minister's got hold of it, and let's hope that he does something, you know, for the people before the election.
She should go and be stripped of the... She should have done it before now.
Well, let's see what the Prime Minister is planning on doing. talkTV's political correspondent Alicia Fitzgerald's in the studio. Alicia, good morning. Look, this developed at quite some pace, really, in the last sort of 48 hours or so. Tell us, Rishi Sunak's trying to sort of assure the public that some kind of fast-track system to exonerate all of these sub-postmasters is possible, is being looked at. What are the plans?
Definitely. So Kevin Hollinrake, he is the minister in charge of the Post Office in Parliament. He delivered a big statement last night, and he said that no stone will be left unturned when it comes to seeking justice for all of those affected. The plans are to try and fast-track the appeal system, so anyone who is a victim of this can have their appeal made, and it just kind of gets put through at a faster pace than a normal court appeal would. The issue with it, though, is that lots of the victims really don't want to face a court appeal full stop. They think it's really traumatic to have to sit through a court appeal about something that has so much emotion and trauma attached to it. So lots of his critics are arguing that actually all of them should just automatically be overturned rather than have to go through this legal process.
700. We did this on the show in some detail yesterday, had some extraordinary stories. And 700 people innocently accused, made to accept that they'd done things, admit to stuff through barristers, and were then sued by the Post Office. So many points that we made yesterday are coming back, and this story is going nowhere. Sunak's jumped on the bandwagon. Absolutely. These poor victims should not be put back through court. They should be exonerated and paid compensation. This has been going on for a long time. Our own Nick Wallace, who was behind the investigation, gave a really interesting summary yesterday and just said, I mean, you think about the human cost, Alicia. This isn't just, you know, people... These are people who were humiliated. Many died having never proven their innocence. People tried to take their lives. People were jailed. Money ain't going to improve that. And we talked yesterday, we talked in Bedfordshire about Paula Vennells, and I was quite motivated by what Rod Liddell said yesterday when he said it's not just one person. This is a huge number of people. The establishment has closed rings on this. I mean, for example, politically, from your point of view, Sir Ed Davey. You talked yesterday about how the Post Office Minister Hollinrake came out and spoke. Ed Davey was right at the centre of this and says he was misled. He spent his entire political career trying to bring down other politicians. Where's he been the last 48 hours?
This is it. A couple of things there. Firstly, Paula Vennells. Obviously, Rishi Sunak has said he would support any movement to try and strip her of her CBE. Obviously, lots of people say that that's a really welcome move, but lots of the victims will argue that that shouldn't be the priority here. The priority, really, with parliamentary time, should be helping the victims rather than stripping someone of their CBE. That's obviously an added bonus, but shouldn't be the first thing that the government do. The second point there is that this is a really rare scandal in that pretty much every single parliamentary party have something to answer for here. It started in 1999. It was a Labour government, moved into the coalition government under the Lib Dems and the Conservatives, and then we've had a Conservative government since all of this actually finalised, who also could have done something about it. So really, there are multiple politicians here who will have a bit of a hand to play in it.
And the finger of blame is pointed at lots of people. You know, we haven't even talked about kind of the software behind all of this.
Fujitsu, they said in the news meeting, there were talks yesterday from Hollinrake that maybe they should form part of the compensation package. I said yesterday that my friend Holly went to a post office in Northampton and they're still using Horizon. That's been updated, but there's no doubt. There's absolutely no doubt. There's a whole load of people who are responsible and people's lives were blighted. And this is going to be a massive, massive story, isn't it?
And one of the complicated things is it's difficult legally to just cast aside sort of mass exonerations.
Why?
Because of the legal process means normally, you know, you can't appeal unless
Just
there's
change the
gone
law.
through. Well, that is what they're looking at, to see can they find, and there's cross-party support for basically a new piece of legislation to come forward to say, in this unique situation, we could just say all of those people where Horizon was related to their conviction, we just quash all of them. But it's complex.
It is complex, but I always do try and say this. A lot is possible in politics, and I think often we're kind of made to think that things aren't doable and things aren't possible and there isn't enough time for things and, you know, we don't have the resources. Ultimately, the politicians are the people who do have the power to do this, and things like this are possible. You can push through emergency legislation in a really short period of time. The issue for the government is there are so many big issues at the moment that they are facing politically.
But I made the point yesterday to Pete. There's two things to that as well. It absolutely shows that we can move quickly and get it put through, you know, legislation. And actually, they should take that further with other things. I think the other thing that's really relevant here is cross-party appeal. Everybody accepts that this is a major failing. And you know, whether it's Fujitsu or Sured Devi or Paula Vennells or the government or the establishment, these victims need sorting out as soon as possible. Can we move on very quickly to Rwanda? This is really interesting. Labour today tabling a vote in Parliament calling for the release of documents relating to the government's flagship, that makes me laugh, a deportation scheme. What do we expect?
Yeah, this was all about reports emerging that Rishi Sunak, when he was Chancellor, actually said that he really wanted to axe the Rwanda scheme, that he wasn't really a big advocate of it, which obviously isn't the best look at the moment when he's been pushing it quite so much and used it as this massive wedge issue for his election campaign. So the Labour Party are now saying that we need some transparency here. We need to see exactly what was said, all of the documents about anything that could potentially crop up that may look a bit embarrassing for the Prime Minister, and it probably will.
That's why I think he's grabbing hold of this post office thing, because it's about the only thing that he's got that probably people agree with right now, right?
Yeah, it's not difficult for the Labour Party to criticise the Rwanda policy in any sort of iteration that it is. Alicia, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. See you in an hour.